What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 17, or Johnny G episode. My name is Zach Graham, your host here on the North End Podcast, alongside my good buddy, on record as my best friend, it's Ian Michaud, a.k.a. E, a.k.a. Let E James, a.k.a. Sebastian Driussi, a.k.a. Easterdamus E. How you doing here on this Monday afternoon, November 14th?
My introduction gets longer every episode.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm doing well. It's cold. It's rainy. So that's a bummer. But other than that, doing good. Excited for another episode. Talk some fun stuff. We got some exciting things for the people here. And I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, it should be a fun episode introducing, we talked about it a little bit last episode about the goals bracket, I think is what we called it then. Now we're going to call it the Austin FC 2022 goal of the year bracket. And we'll get to that later. That's how we'll close out the pod today. Probably not a long one today. Just want to cover some of the things, discuss some of the happenings in the MLS over the last week because it has been busy. I mean, we had a trade window. We had the expansion draft. We've had teams, including Austin FC. We discussed roster decisions last time. And I guess that's a decent segue into what can be our first topic here. And fitting, I think, that we get to cover this on episode 17 because Jon Gallagher himself agreeing to a new multi-year contract with Austin FC. That deal includes 4 guaranteed years. So we got Johnny G until at least the end of 2026. And then there's an option for 2027.
Okay.
So I guess off the top, your reaction to the Gallagher extension.
Love it. Love it for the team. Love it for Johnny as well. Somebody who really earned that contract this year with all of the utility he provided to our roster, kind of the Swiss Army knife for us. And then he really found a home, and they're there in the back. I'm excited for it. Is it a team or a player option at the end there?
So that's where I think, we're definitely frustrated by stats or lack of transparency around this league. It does not say in the press release. So there is an option. It does seem to me like I'm sure there are player options. It appears, at least like we're obviously most plugged in with the Austin FC roster changes. It seems like everything, at least this year, was a team option. So I think if I had to guess, it's probably a team option. Yeah. And again, that's, the salary cap training camp that I'm trying to put myself through this offseason. It has begun, but it's a camp. It's not just a one-day thing. So we'll talk some TAM and GAM later, but I'll add that to the list. Make a little note. Are there player options in the MLS? I assume there are, but I'm going to guess this is a team option. Gallagher said being a part of Austin FC has been a genuinely special experience for me. I'm excited to continue building something amazing for this community. Can't wait to be back with our fans at Q2 next year.
Nice.
So kind of cookie cutter statement right there, but I think the length is what really drives this home for me. We've talked a lot about our love for Gallagher, certainly his utility for the team. And, for him to commit that long to a club, there's just obviously mutual interest, mutual respect. And I think, obviously we love what he does for the team on the pitch. I tweeted out last week from the podcast account, Ian, that he had played, according to FB Ref, he has played 8 different positions during his 2-year tenure for Austin, which is,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I think some of it, one of the games, I think was last year, the home win near the end of the season against Houston, where he came off the bench for 2 minutes to close out that win and was technically playing a defensive midfield position. I think that's the only 2 minutes, but he played it nonetheless.
Nonetheless.
Yeah, striker, left and right wing, left and right midfield, those 2 minutes as a defensive mid. And then, of course, as we know, right and left back where he primarily played this year. But for me, I won't say solidifies, to keep him on the back line where I think he exceeded everybody's expectations and probably even the club's as well this year. Like to have him locked up, not just for those 2 fullback positions, but like, hey, if we bring in multiple defenders and we need less Johnny G at fullback, you can throw him in a pinch up front. We know that.
Absolutely.
And so again, locking in a guy like that, I think is just awesome. And I think it's good for all parties involved, fans, club, player, etc.
For a team that, lacks a dearth of talent, to have somebody like that, where you can, plug and play across a formation, gives us a lot more flexibility in this offseason window here. Like you said, if we can add, I don't know, maybe some more talented, defenders, and then be able to move Johnny around, and have him, in a lot more spot play. Yeah, it's great. I very much like the signing.
Well, I wonder if the knee injury that Kolmanich took on last month, if that maybe helped Johnny get this deal done, because he became that much more important there on the left if we're not going to have Kolmanich till mid-season at the earliest.
I want to touch on the thing you did. You said the cookie cutter statement kind of by him, and when you were reading off the statement, that was kind of what was going through my head, and I was like, man, I really hope he means all of those things, because I feel like, especially in these larger American sports of football and basketball that we are also involved in, these guys they're a whole brand in themselves, and that even brings it back even full circle to the contract. We're used to player options because in the NBA, it's either you get on board with what I'm bringing to your team or, I'm out of here. Like,
I'm going elsewhere.
So I do think what he said probably lays a little more credence. And I feel like I sound like a college sports fan now, where it's like, so they love it more. And it's like, I don't know. But I do think Johnny has found a home here. And I very much believe, his sentiment there that he wants to grow and continue building something with this franchise. So congratulations to him. Congratulations to the team as well. Let's keep this thing rolling with some more good offseason acquisitions and signings and all that.
Yeah, no doubt. And Johnny G will turn 27, right near the season opener next year. February 23rd is his birthday, so he'll turn 27. This is a guy, similar to Seba, right? Like age-wise, in his athletic prime here. So, to have him under contract until he's 30, 31 years old, that's great. We should have the best years of Jon Gallagher here, and I'm excited for it.
I agree.
Well, we want the good signings, the good vibes to continue, but we're still going to be on the edge of our seats for this one for it until there's resolution. We talked about the Driussi to the Premier League rumors that popped up last week, literally like 90 minutes before we recorded episode 16. So we've had a little bit more time to process here, and more time to see him watching Leeds, who is the team that was named in the rumor, watching Leeds and Tottenham, not just watching the match, but posting it on his Instagram.
Yeah, that is strange, especially for someone who's like shy and private. But the internet will make you do weird things, man. Instagram will make you do some weird shit. I also heard 2 Bundesliga teams are interested in him as well.
Apparently.
This is this could be the end of the pod.
This I think we knew it last week, right? Just based on where the rumors were coming from, which blue check marks were.
Mhm.
That's a whole nother conversation we could have about the check marks over the last week.
Yeah.
But I think it's a credible rumor.
Yeah.
The extra time guys, the official MLS podcast had us. They talked about it, and I was actually kind of glad to hear what they were saying about it. They're like, it's absolutely real, and wouldn't fault him for going, but that Austin, if the number they threw out there was Austin should not sell for less than 12 to 15 million, with an emphasis more on the higher number in that range. And I think at the end of the day, obviously, like we know how much it would suck for for the obvious reasons, right? Like the on-field product is not going to be as good no matter who you bring in his stead. Like it's going to take time to get the team to gel around this, a non-Driussi. We know what that's looked like in the past, right?
For sure.
But from, and I think you and I think we have similar thoughts on this in other sports, and I don't see why it wouldn't translate here. Whatever he wants to do for his career is fine. I'm going to get behind him. I would still cheer for him no matter where he was, as long as it's not in the MLS, right? If he's going to a rival team, then especially when you play Austin, not cheering for him. But I certainly can't hate on the guy for taking what would be a better job. You can't hate on anybody in more like regular, normal life, for lack of a better term, for doing something like that.
For sure.
And to, kind of reach the pinnacle of his profession, being in the Premier League. And then I also wanted to shout out, I was just scrolling Twitter earlier this morning, and Mike Crognola, who's one of the co-hosts of Swoon Tower Soccer there on the Moon Tower feed, he said this morning, he tweeted, "I've been thinking about it almost nonstop since the rumor came out," which I think a lot of us have. And he basically he did a thread basically like, Seba is probably sitting here, the World Cup's coming up, he's 26, he's going to be 30 at the next World Cup. And if in his his professional soccer dreams are to play in a World Cup for Argentina, you're not going to get that done playing in the MLS. You're going to have to take that next step at some point in these next 4 years to even have a hope of beating out the other attacking players in that Argentinian national system.
Yeah.
So I think, again, that's like, it doesn't feel good. It fucking hurts to try to like rationalize it and be like, and actually get behind them. But I think that's what I will do. Certainly. I hope all of us would in that scenario. All that being said, Seba, please don't leave us.
I thought one of the perks of having fanhood for one team was that you can be irrational.
Yeah, but I guess you can. I'm irrational in plenty of areas, but me for like Kawhi with the Spurs. I think he could have done certain things better leaving San Antonio, and I think he could do. God damn it, we're not getting into this. But I just think, again, like going back to just like the wide view of it, that this is no matter the sport, team, whatever, like it's somebody's professional career, and if they're making a move that is good for them in that aspect, then I support it as much as it would fucking rip my heart out, man.
Yeah, I mean I agree, and just as we talked about with those other dudes in the larger sports being brands in themselves, they make decisions for themselves, as they should. What's best for them, and then obviously soccer has been Seba's life. How can you fault the guy for wanting to achieve, like what you said, the pinnacle, to be there, to be up top? I will say, a lot of these other, even American guys who are going over to the league, to the EPL or to these larger leagues, are having a hard time playing, getting on the pitch. So that is something that I hope should be considered. Obviously Leeds, not one of the Premier League teams.
Right.
So yeah, I don't. If we have to rationalize it one day, we will. For now, I'll just keep my fingers crossed and hope that he loves it here and has established himself with his family, and that we got that going for us. And he wants to be the best player in this league.
Yeah,
for years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll, I'm sure this is not the last time we'll talk about it. We'll have updates whenever we get them, and just fingers crossed at this point. And again, if that does come to pass, the transfer fee is going to be a large sum, and at the end of the day, that would be in a vacuum good business, because I believe they spent $7 million on his initial transfer fee. So to potentially more than double that in 18 months. Again, from the business side, and you said last time, we're in the business of doing good business here at Austin City, right? So
now, I do have a question. Where does that money go?
See, that's it. Again, I'm in training camp here, man. I don't know if that comes in. I don't think it comes in like allocation money. I don't know if it goes to your cap budget, but
I don't think you just have a $15 million enhanced salary cap.
No, you do. You absolutely don't. I think that money can just be used for, or I think it can be used for other transfer fees. Certainly, I think you can use it to improve other areas of your club, like physically, like the maybe a new weight room, I think you can use it for that.
It's like
I don't know.
It's like the fucking trade in that one movie where they trade the guy for the washing machine.
Semi-pro.
It's like It's like, oh yeah, we just got this new weight room for Sebastian Driussi.
Ed Monix traded for a washing machine, and
Monix, yes,
brought the Flint Tropics their Flint, Michigan Mega Bowl title, 4th place, baby.
That's precedent right there.
Yeah. If you want, hey, look, that movie is special to me because obviously we love basketball movies. A lot of some of our favorite comedians doing some very accurate basketball references in that movie. Mm-hmm. Not just with the terminology and the teams and everything, all the way down to when they play the Spurs in the Flint, Michigan Mega Bowl. They have radio teams on each side of the scorer's table. The call sign for the San Antonio radio station that broadcasts Spurs games is WOAI, and they have it on the table there.
Nice.
And so, it's like things like that in that movie that, as a basketball nerd, I really, really can, I appreciate. So I love Semi-Pro. After that, little turn, didn't think we were going to be talking Semi-Pro on the pod today. Let's get back to the MLS news here. We had the expansion draft for St. Louis City SC on Friday. Welcome. And again, another little refresher. If you don't remember back to Austin FC's expansion draft 2 years ago, which didn't go great, but 5 picks for the expansion side. If you had a player taken in the previous expansion draft, you're safe. So obviously Mackenzie Gaines was taken by Charlotte first overall. So Austin was safe this season. So that's why there wasn't a ton of buzz around it, I think, in our Austin FC community, because we didn't have to debate, did we protect Redis or Gaines or whoever. Mm-hmm. But obviously the expansion draft rolled on without us, and the 5 picks, we have them here. I got to be honest, the only guy I recognized was who was taken first, and that was Nico, and I believe it's pronounced Gioacchini. Again, not the best with the pronunciation, certainly for the guys who aren't on Austin, but I do remember when Orlando, they got him from Orlando City. Okay. And I do remember that he was signed what I believe mid-season in the transfer window. He just got there. Mm-hmm. And this is an American international. He has 8 caps for the national team, 3 goals, and debuted in 2020. Yeah, so he's been good in his appearances for the national team. He was actually, so this guy was born in Kansas City, Missouri. So going to play in St. Louis is a home of sorts, which I think is really cool.
Very cool.
Moved to Italy with his family when he was 8, came back to the U.S. when he was 12. And then when he was 15, moved to France. So this is an international Giochini here.
What
And,
a life.
yeah, came over to Orlando from League Two there in France. So he was playing a high level of soccer over there. That
Yeah.
League Two is where Musa came from.
Yes.
And Giochini, he's a U22 initiative signing. So I really thought that this was, again, not just because he's the only guy I recognize, but like that is a name that I think is going to play a big role for them going forward.
Yeah, that's a much more substantial pick than, no shade to McKenzie, but
yeah,
in terms of
absolutely.
the resume, like that's night and day. Yeah, welcome to the league, Kansas City, or excuse me, St. Louis.
Yeah.
That is exciting. Where did you mention his position?
I think he's a winger.
Okay.
I think he can play kind of like, maybe it's a bad comparison, but like I think from what I was reading the other day, because when they picked him, I was like, oh shit, like I didn't know he was available.
Yeah.
And like I don't think it's an exact comparison, but in terms of like Rigoni and how we've been told he can play multiple positions up front, I think it's somewhat similar here for Giochini. I don't think he's really like a striker, but a versatile forward winger.
Okay. Attack position.
Yeah. And career total here from his time in France to his time with Orlando City, which obviously was very short. 115 appearances, 19 goals.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's again for an expansion draft pick. I thought they did really well there. The other four, I guess first I should say, I did hear an interview on Extra Time with the St. Louis City sporting director, who I'm going to butcher this name, Lutz Pfannenstiel. I'm gonna slack you the name and show you that. But yeah, so he was actually pretty entertaining on that interview, and then he was quoted after the draft saying that he was surprised that Giochini was available in the expansion draft, saying that the player has unbelievable speed, works hard, and fits exactly how we want to play. Which, by listening to him talk on the podcast last week, it sounds like they're gonna play like a little bit like New York Red Bulls. Like press the shit out of you all game and just try to beat you on the counter. Him describing Giochini there in that quote, that definitely fits what he's trying to do. So he said, he's really excited to bring him over. The other four picks here, Indiana Vasilev, that's from Inter Miami. John Bell. I know John Bell is a domestic center back. He was with New England. I think he was a homegrown with them, I think. And then Tom Bogert said he thinks that John Bell will challenge for time right away on their back line at one of the center back positions. So little insight there. Again, shout out Bogert. That is not me knowing about John Bell. Then they took John Nelson, double Johns in the expansion draft. John Nelson, that's from Cincy. And then Jake LaCava from Red Bulls. And LaCava was actually traded to Miami right after he was selected. So not dissimilar to what Austin did with Kamal Miller. They drafted him 2 years ago and traded him to Montreal, where he became I believe was a best 11 defender this year. So
nice.
Yeah, would love to have that one back.
That would have been great.
Yeah, you can't win them all. Can't win them all. So that's the expansion draft for St. Louis. We talked about the Stroud trade last week. We talked about them having multiple DPs and Roman Berkey back there.
That's right.
That. So that was an interesting thing too. When the before the expansion draft happened, I was listening to some people discuss who they thought could go, and I guess traditionally or typically you can get a keeper picked up in these expansion drafts. And they were like, well, they've got Berkey, so they're not going to take a keeper unless you're going to take somebody and trade them. Well, so let's talk a little bit about some of the other moves that happened in the trade window around the expansion draft with these roster decisions. And before we do that, because we're going to say GAM and TAM a couple times, let me just refresh here. People listening may know better than us whether you were an MLS fan before and you just have that knowledge. Maybe one of the other awesome Austin FC podcasts out there already taught you these. I think I have been taught these lessons by Moon Tower before. I forgot them, so similar to you. Yeah, we need somebody to remind us of these things. So I'm going to remind us of them now. The salary cap for 2022 in the MLS, this surprised me. 4.9 million. Super
What?
low. Yeah, really, really low. And that's where TAM and GAM and DPs and U22s and all those, all those phrases,
Yeah.
that's where they come in. Because obviously we know Austin FC had a much larger salary than 4.9 or salary cap hit than 4.9 million
Yeah.
this year. So let's break it down a little bit here. I didn't know this. Only your 20 senior roster spots. Remember, we actually talked about that last week. 20
Mhm.
senior spots, 10 supplemental. Only the senior spots count against that cap.
Okay.
You don't have to use spots 19 and 20, but every other spot after that, so 1 through 18, if you don't fill those, you will pick up a minimum salary charge, which is 81K. So
Okay.
not huge, but you have to fill out, or they're going to fill out 18 spots for you salary-wise. Now let's get into GAM and TAM, which is general allocation money and targeted allocation money, and what I think longtime MLS fans will lovingly call Garber bucks. Don Garber, the MLS commissioner.
Okay.
Yeah, essentially these were instituted to allow the teams to get better talent, which is what they should continue to do. So, in the future, maybe we just get rid of that shit and have a higher salary cap or no cap at all. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't seem like it has to be this complicated, but this is what it is. For GAM in 2022, again, that general allocation money, every team was awarded 1.265 million in GAM.
Okay.
Additional GAM is awarded for those teams that missed the playoffs, that had players picked in the expansion draft. So we got some last year.
Okay.
Qualified for CCO, so we get a little extra taste this year, like that.
Ooh.
Selling a player outside of the MLS, so you get a little extra taste if you sold your Driussi. And if you only have 2 designated players.
Okay.
The teams with 3 are charged 150K, and that pool is split among the teams that have 2. So that makes more sense to me on why some teams do just carry 2 DPs, like St. Louis. That interview with their sporting director, he said he thinks they're going to carry 2.
Okay.
I think it's multifaceted. Obviously, you get a piece of that pool, but then also for the teams that maybe aren't shelling out, like an LAFC or an NYCFC, or hopefully down the road an Austin FC, like those more constrained sporting directors use it just because they don't really have the funds to bring in 3.
Correct.
The frustrating thing is I haven't yet found what the actual figures of that additional GAM that is awarded and divvied up. Like, I don't know how much do we get for making CCO. Haven't gotten that deep yet. So maybe on the next update in a couple of weeks we'll talk about that. The general allocation money can be used to reduce players' salary charges. So I believe you can use GAM, not on DPs. You can use them say on Danny Hosen, because Danny Hosen, I believe this past year was making 650K. And I think the maximum salary for every player is a little bit lower than that. So you look at the other guys, I guess it's really just Ruben Gabrielson that is above that Hosen number. That's not a DP. He's on 950K this year. So I assume we're using 300K in GAM or TAM to buy him down to that maximum cap number.
Okay.
GAM cannot be used to reduce a player's salary budget charge to less than 50%. So if Ruben was 1.3 million, he would have to be a DP, right? 100% of loan and transfer fees can be paid by GAM. GAM is also usable to sign players to new contracts. Then you look at TAM. Last season, each team was given 2.8 million in TAM, so more than double, 2.5 times the amount of TAM. There are no other ways to earn additional TAM, so you get that 2.8 million last year. Apparently, down the road, the annual TAM budget given out to every team will continue to decrease while GAM will increase. I'm not sure why that is. I think it's maybe because you have more flexibility to do a lot of things with GAM.
Yeah.
You could trade it, etc. And so I think like if that's the case, that's probably a good thing. Again, hopefully we're on the road to just eliminating this complication altogether. But
yeah,
this is how it is now. TAM is not tradable, and it says it expires in 4 transfer windows. So there's 2 transfer windows, to my knowledge, during the season. So I don't know if that means it expired, if there's like 4, like maybe there's 2 in the off season, 2 in the season. I don't know if it means 1 year or 2 years, but I'll try to find more going forward. But that's what it says. It expires after 4 transfer windows.
Okay.
And just finishing up here, I know it's long-winded. You can use TAM to convert a DP to a non-DP. So this is where this comes into play for what we've been talking about, right? With potentially doing this with Alex Ring. If you do that, if you use TAM to convert a DP to a non-DP, you have to sign another DP simultaneously. Oh. So in that scenario, if we were to buy down Alex Ring, you would be bringing somebody else in. But the good thing is, I mean, if you have 2.8 million annually, or somewhere in that ballpark for 2023, Alex Ring is on 1.5 million. So you are not using a ton of that TAM budget to buy him down. So it seems like something that could be done.
What a tough negotiation that would be. Would you bring that to Alex Ring first, or would you bring that to one of the potential DP players first? It's like, hey, you need to get them both on board right?
Right, have them both on board at the same time. Well, and I would assume too, like, because when you buy them down, you're still paying them their contract. It's the cap gymnastics, right? So like, to me, it would just be like a player, ring or not, right? It would just be a player like kind of throwing a tantrum or being unhappy that they lose that DP tag, like just because of the status. Yeah. So this can only be done with non-max DPs, which are DPs that are earning less than 1.612 million. And again, Ring's base is 1.5. So he is the one out of the 3 that can actually be bought down. And the last thing here, you can use TAM to pay acquisition fees of players and to fund the first MLS contracts of your homegrown players. So Owen Wolff could be signed using TAM.
Okay.
But he's also in a supplemental roster spot, so he doesn't count against the cap anyway. So again, the salary cap is overly complicated, but we're trying our best to, little by little, understand what we're talking about here. So with that being said, let's go here into the other MLS moves section, the non-Austin FC. It's actually, again, it is nice and topical that today, November 14th, is the roster decision deadline in MLS. And this surprised me. Only 14 of the 28 teams have announced. So we've been talking about how teams have done it very quickly, including Austin.
Yeah.
Really, it's only half that have gotten their stuff together. And I think there's some teams out there that have announced some decisions, but not all. And so, again, we're recording this around midday on Monday. I imagine there's going to be a flurry of news here. I'm sure right as we end the pod, there will be some big MLS news.
For sure.
Yeah. And we'll have to push that till next week. But over the last week, Houston was busy.
Yep.
First of all, they named Ben Olsen their new manager. Olsen was in D.C. with United from 2010 to 2020. And so hoping, obviously, that Olsen can come in, give the club a new, more successful direction. Because again, and it brings me great joy to say this anytime I get the chance to, Houston has made the playoffs once since 2013. But they did make 2 big moves here. And they were, again, this is why it was nice to read up on GAM to know exactly what these teams are doing.
That's right.
They made 2 trades. First, they traded Fafa Pico to Nashville for only $100K in GAM plus incentives. I think those are performance incentives. So the better he does for Nashville, potentially some more GAM going back the Dynamo's way. Pico was 18 goals, 8 assists in his 61 appearances for the Dynamo over the last 2 years. He's 31 years old.
Okay.
It seems to me like it's just good depth for that Nashville attack. A Nashville attack that outside of Hani Mukhtar was doing fuck all.
Yeah.
Like, you remember we were talking, like, Sapong, I think, was second in goals with like 5 near the end of the season. Like, they need some help. So a guy who's averaged 9 goals, 4 assists, those are Maxi Urruti numbers, plus some assists.
Yeah.
Right. So to get that for 100K in GAM, I think was a good move by Nashville. And again, they're restructuring this roster in Houston for the new manager. So obviously Fafa didn't fit there. Seems like good business on both sides.
I agree.
Even though we hate to see Houston doing good business, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Another move, which I thought, again, good business by Houston here. They traded Tim Parker, who was acquired by Houston recently, I think in the last 12 to 18 months. A little bit disgruntled during his time there, was supposed to be kind of the stalwart of their back line from how I understood it. He's gone. They actually traded him to St. Louis City for $500K in GAM. So, yeah, significant amount there for Tim Parker. So St. Louis bolsters that, expansion back line with an MLS veteran, and $500K in GAM. So the moving Pico and Parker, $600K in GAM back to Houston. That just kind of kicked off the week. Rumors now about Aaron Long, who's a free agent. Obviously, he was been with Red Bull. He's with, obviously, the U.S. team over in Qatar, and is a free agent. So I believe this was Bogert tweeting about this in the MLS, expected to be pursued by the Galaxy, the Rapids, and FC Dallas. Obviously we think we need some reinforcements here. I actually noticed this because obviously Greg Berhalter's national team squad plays very similarly to Austin FC. You need those center backs to be able to, handle the ball, distribute out of the back, and not be shaky with the ball at their feet. Aaron Long, in my experience, is pretty shaky with the ball at his feet. So I don't think this is somebody that Austin is really going to go after.
Fine with me.
I also said, just on that Aaron Long talk, Bournemouth and West Ham could have interest over in Europe. But again, like, he's going to the World Cup. I think a lot of the interest is going to be determined. Like, I don't think there's going to be any moves that happen with Aaron Long until after the tournament, and his performance there is going to go a long way to dictating where he actually ends up. Bogert did note that the Galaxy traded Derek Williams, which now opens a need for them at center back. So that'll just be one to watch, because obviously that's a huge name, young, still up and coming talent, on the defensive side in this league. Absolutely. Portland then, and again, these are, obviously Aaron Long coming from the East, but those are 3 Western Conference teams that Bogert mentioned. Staying in the West here, Portland signed a club record deal to acquire Evander. It's a Brazilian forward there, and this I believe when I was coaching at Southwestern, the assistant women's soccer coach was Dutch. We shared an office for 2 years, and I believe this was his favorite team. I have no idea how to say it. FC. I don't even know how to approach this. Midland. It's Midtjylland.
What?
Yes, so I believe that's a Dutch league side. It's a $10 million fee to acquire Evander. He's 24 years old, and currently leading the Europa League in assists with 5. So just to kind of highlight the quality of this player, the quality of the league the competition that he's playing against right now. He's going to join the Timbers in January, so in time for training camp. I think this is bad news for the Western Conference, because Portland, we know their pedigree. We know how tough they are anytime you face them, again, no matter who they're playing against or where they're playing. To get a guy like this, certainly I would assume that their fans are ecstatic.
Absolutely. That's a real splash. He is electric with the ball. The West, it was a strong conference last year. Sounds like that is going to continue growing.
Yeah, and then so like kind of, to be honest, I'm not sure if this is like because of the Evander signing now this, but there's rumors that trade rumors surrounding Eric Williamson, one of the key players for the Timbers. Again, this is me just basically reading off Tom Bogert again. Probably the number one MLS insider that there is. Like, this is our Woj now in this world.
Yeah.
And he says that there's really nothing imminent right now, but just that there's rumblings, there's whispers, and that potentially 1.5 to 2 million in GAM could get a deal done there. So we'll keep an eye on Eric Williamson because, to be honest, man, like I would love if he gets moved, send him east, like get him out of our conference. Couple more here. Junior Urso, who we know from the Orlando City match in Austin this past year, left Orlando City after 3 seasons with the club, returning to his home country of Brazil for personal reasons.
Okay.
And so it seemed like but I think what I read was, mutual parting of the ways, going back home, family stuff. They made playoffs all 3 of his seasons, and he was a big reason why. Played a lot of minutes for them. So, certainly a hole to fill now for Orlando, who also just lost Giacchini to the expansion draft. And the last thing here, check out this bit of business, E.
Oh.
Nashville
Yep.
trades 4 international spots.
Okay.
That's all of them. I'm pretty sure. I think there's 3 per team. So they acquired one more, maybe through another trade. I don't know. But they sold 4 international spots to 4 different teams in one fell swoop.
Wow.
$725K in GAM for the 4 international spots and a 2023 second round draft pick. And this is what's interesting to me. St. Louis City, they charge the new guys the premium. I don't know if that's a regional thing or what, but $200K for the spot that gets sent to St. Louis City, Chicago, Dallas, Vancouver, the other 3, $175K for those spots. So, and again, they also picked up that 2023 second round pick. So, I don't know. Domestic SC is the new name of Nashville.
So did you see the Matt Hedges news there that broke earlier today?
Oh, yeah, that was like an hour before we went live. I did see that come across. He's like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe legend is like too strong of a term, but like
all-time leader in caps. I mean, fan favorite.
Yeah.
That's a big name for them.
I just when you just brought that up, I clicked over to my Twitter tab here. See, John Arnold said, big news here, declined the option. Currently in negotiations about a new contract with Dallas. Okay. So they also picked up options on Cerrillo, Farfan, and Sabalang. Never heard of that guy, midfielder there.
Me neither.
Yeah. So, I guess, Hedges not a FC Dallas member right now, but it looks like they're gonna bring him back. But man, I hope one day down the road we're gonna have a guy like that, right?
Yeah, I mean we got Felipe Light.
Yeah, but I mean he hasn't. Hedges been with the club, right?
Hasn't been here. I mean, yeah. I mean, shoot.
Maybe it's Johnny G. I mean, he's here. Yeah. He's our longest. He's going like right now. I don't think anybody's under contract for 2026 outside of him. Not that I know of.
Not that I know of either. So Johnny G, roll into it.
Yeah.
Another thing he's got to take care of.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's about all the like really notable news here. Obviously, we'll continue to update, to visit any MLS happenings, roster decisions, etc. We'll probably have some more roster decisions that happen later today to talk about next week. But let's go ahead and break into the goal of the year bracket, which I'm extremely excited about. So this is something, if you're listening on the pod, we're going to post the video here because we record, we can see each other. But then we typically will post the audio, whether it's on the pod feed, the YouTube, etc. But wanted to have a visual explainer for what we're doing here. Again, it might be a little bit silly, but just trying to keep us all involved here. in the off season. So those of you that do watch this clip, welcome in. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll go ahead and pull up the bracket right here. So it's very small right here on the screen. We'll zoom in here in a second, but let's just talk about what we're going to do, a little refresher for what we talked about last week. Austin FC, we scored a very nice 69 goals this season. That's playoffs included. Nice. And so again, with our first love is hoops. We're basketball nerds through and through. And with MLS Cup just happening, bracket style knockout tournament, the World Cup after the group stage, we're going to get a bracket here, and we love March Madness. So we took some liberties here. We cut out 5 goals, so we're down to 64 here. And this was a decision. I'll say this decision was made by me. 3 of Driussi's penalty kicks were out. Those being at San Jose, home versus Orlando, and at Minnesota. Seemed a little bit inconsequential to me. Although, of course, they did add to his goal total, etc. Musa Jite, the 5th goal against Cincinnati, that was an own goal officially. So we took that one out. And then the odd one out was a Julio Cascante header assisted by Fagundes off a corner, 6th minute of the home match against San Jose. Nothing against you, Julio. That's just the one that didn't make it. And so there's probably one in the 64 remaining that a lot of people would be like, well, that goal sucked. Like, we should have had the Julio one in. But that's the point of this. Like, I want to hear people's thoughts on the matchups, the seeding on Twitter. Like, when you vote, if you vote, especially for the underdog, at least in our seeds, maybe drop a little comment why, like maybe what that goal meant to you, what you were doing at the time, where you were, what have you. So let's break it down a little bit here. We've got 4 regions. All right. The West, the East, the Driussi, and the Sentimiento region. Okay. So
very nice.
We'll do a little zoom here. We'll head over, not like that. We'll head over to the West region here. And I think this is pretty self-explanatory, right? These are goals scored against Western Conference teams. So if you're looking in the West region, you're going to find like the 1 seed is the Fagundes free kick goal against LAFC. Again, a little getting into our methodology here. When we did the ticket giveaway for the decision day match, the question that people had to comment was their favorite goal so far from the season. Okay. So some of the goals, including that Fagundes free kick, were mentioned so much that I used that that made this a 1 seed here.
Solidified it as the top seed in that region.
Yeah. And so you've got the 2 seed here is Hosen 85th minute against SKC at home. That's that just amazing volley, right? Yep. That tied the match. So you can see that down where that's Driussi region. So Hosen 85th minute. And that goes against Fagundes 53rd minute at LA Galaxy. So again, that when we do these matchups on Twitter, we're going to have the poll there, but we're also going to have the goals clipped so you can refresh yourself, and maybe jog your memory about what some of these goals are. Some of the other methodology here in the seeding, goals from losses could not be higher than a 4 seed. So I've double checked all these seeds. I'm pretty sure I've got all these things worked out, but goals from losses not higher than a 4 seed.
Okay. Yeah.
Game winning goals. And again, that could be like you look at a game like 5-0 against Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. That Cecilio goal in the 2nd minute was a game winner. So
technically, yes.
There's some of the goals it's like, well, it didn't feel like a game winner, but it was.
For sure.
And so game-winning goals could not be lower than a 10 seed.
Okay.
And then goals that set a record of any kind, whether it was like our 100th goal, our first free kick goal, things like that, right? Okay. Kopitar winning goal. Those could not be lower than an 8 seed.
I like it.
So those were kind of the 3 parameters there about the seeding. Again, this is the Western Conference. So you're going to find there's 5 game-winning goals in this region of the bracket. Then we head over the other side, the East. Again, that's probably pretty self-explanatory here. All goals scored against Eastern Conference teams. There are 6 game winners in this region. The 1 seed there is the Ruben Gabrielsen game-winning goal at DC. Pollo Libre, just the legend of Pollo there, taking the 1 seed.
That was the day.
2 seed, Arruti assisted by Gallagher at Montreal. That was the game down a man, right? Yep. And won 1-0 against that quality CF Montreal side. We were up in New York for that one, watching at the beach house, right? In that one.
That's right.
Went crazy.
We did.
We had fun at that one. So that's the East region. Then we go down here at bottom left, the Driussi region. These, again, pretty self-explanatory. All of Driussi goals. Yeah. This isn't exclusive. You'll find Driussi goals in the other 3 regions, but these were maybe not the best 16 Driussi goals, but I think we've got some good matchups here. And, you'll find the number 1 is the game winner against FC Dallas in the quarterfinal.
Yeah, we very easily could have ended up with a Final Four of just Seba goals.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you still might, because there's at least 1 Driussi goal in every other region. So
still can.
We'll see. There are 3 game-winning goals in there. The 100th goal in Austin FC history is in there. That's the 8 seed. You can look at, like, I don't know. I think there's this isn't obviously like March Madness, where like the quality of a 13 seed is definitely lower than a 4 seed. Like, some people's, like, again, sentiments on some of these goals may cause them to vote for the underdog, or at least think that my seeding metrics are way out of whack. But I'm excited to see that. And then the final one, the Sentimiento region, like, some of these are going to be game winners. Some of them are like those records. First free kick goal in club history against Houston. That Diego Fagundes one. That's a 5 seed there. Yep. The Copa Tejas winning goal is the 3 seed there. 3 game winning goals. The Gite hat trick, the first hat trick in club history. The 2 seed there. So and the Fagundes, the Rabona assist from Driussi to Fagundes streaking down the field, the game winner at LAFC. That's the 1 seed there in the Sentimiento region. So awesome. I think this is going to probably take us a while to get done on Twitter. We'll definitely get the first round of each region done, 1 each day this week. That's going to start Tuesday morning, the 15th. Prepare your timelines to be inundated with polls and stuff. And I just hope we have some fun discussion around this.
That's awesome.
Kind of reliving the season that was, now that we're a couple weeks removed. And all of our attention is still focused on the sport, with the World Cup coming up, U.S. kicking off against Wales in a week from today. We will literally, a week from this moment, we will be watching the U.S. men's national team play against Wales. And we've seen Gareth Bale up against the team we're cheering for before. It's gone well once, went bad the other time. So best 2 out of 3, I guess, gets decided next Monday. Okay. I guess last thing for me, E, is you have any like predictions for the World Cup? Like, I think we'll probably dive in a little bit more next episode. The tournament will have started. But, I think for me, I guess I'll lead off here. I'm homerism for sure. I'm biased here. I want to put a little bet on the U.S. coming out of Group B. It is probably the toughest or second toughest group. I believe in these boys. We haven't seen them together. We had so many injuries throughout the qualifying process. And now it looks like, I'll knock on wood, we're a week out. And it looks like we're going to be at mostly full strength here. So I'm excited. I think they can get it done. So why not? I think U.S. is going to win Group B.
Okay. I'll jump on board with that. The only thing I saw that the FIFA video game ran a full simulated tournament.
Oh, really?
Had Argentina winning.
Okay.
And apparently they've gotten 3 of the last 4 right doing that. Like
really? On FIFA?
They correctly predicted it just by simming the World Cup with the rosters on FIFA.
Yeah, that's wild.
Someone can fact check that, but I'm fairly certain that I read that correctly. But yeah, I'll jump on board with the U.S. out of Group B there. I like that.
So are you going to go with Argentina then as your pick? Follow the trends.
That would make a lot of Austin FC guys happy.
True. That's very true.
You know, we have a strong showing there. Okay, since I got, since we'll have kicked off by the time it's
yeah, let's do U.S. Wales predictions here. Let's do that.
Okay. Well, today will not be the first day I predict a U.S. loss.
You're on brand.
Give me 2-1.
2-1. I almost said 2-1 Austin FC. 2-1 U.S. men's national team over Wales. I like it. Give me a 1-0. Give me a 1-0 win. Shutting down Bale. We've seen that before. And U.S. scores on a crafty counter. Okay. I'll say Pulisic gets his first.
Very nice. Okay. I like it.
All right, everybody. That's going to do it for us. Maybe some more World Cup talk next week, some more MLS moves. Maybe we'll have some more Austin FC news. I cannot wait until we get to record the podcast where we put the Driussi rumor to bed. Whenever that happens.
It'll be 1 minute long podcast.
And I'm looking forward to the goal of the year bracket, interacting with anybody who wants to kind of participate in that over the next week or two with us. And that'll do it for us here on the North End podcast. We appreciate everybody tuning in, sticking with us through this. We're just under an hour here. So off season, maybe turning into some shorter podcasts. If you've got 5 seconds, you're listening, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, you can take 5 seconds, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. It helps us grow, the pod. If you're listening on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're just trying to grow our little footprint here in the Austin FC community. And make sure you follow the pod on Twitter at the North End Pod, because that's where we're going to be doing the goals bracket this coming week. And we want you to take part. We want to relive this season with all the Austin FC fans. So that'll do it for us. We'll see you back here next week. For Ian, I'm Zach. Till next time, vamos Austin FC. Goodbye.